Tonight's story begins with a very proud moment. The moment I discovered I am way too emotionally invested in potato chip commercials. All right, get comfy, adjust your blanket, and let me confess something deeply embarrassing before you fall asleep. The team is my second family. The score's close, tension's high, everyone is leaning in, and so there I am at game night. Snacks everywhere, my lucky socks on. I've emotionally adopted lie. My team scores. Or at least, I think they do. I jump up, yell like I just won the lottery, scare the dog, spill the dip. I'm doing a full victory dance in the living room. And then I notice nobody else is celebrating. Because as it turns out, I've just given a standing ovation to a soda commercial. See, game night at my apartment isn't just a casual get-together. It's a serious, high-stakes affair we call, with zero irony, the Suburban Sofa League Championship, or the SSLC. It's a season-long tournament of board games, video games, and most importantly, sports-watching passion. The prize: a hideous gold-painted plastic trophy of a dragon holding a 20-sided die, which we creatively named Gary. Gary is our Stanley Cup. Getting your name engraved on Gary's cheap wooden base means achieving immortality. Failing means a full year of soul-crushing ridicule from your best friends. The stakes, as you can see, are sky high. Our group, the founding members of the SSLC, is a delicate ecosystem. First, there's Mark. Mark is the strategist. He shows up with a binder. I'm not kidding. It's got statistical analyses of past game nights, probability charts for board games, and scouting reports on our sports-watching habits. He sees life as an equation to be solved, and game night is his masterpiece. He doesn't play for fun. He plays for the cold, hard data of a win. His version of trash talk is quietly whispering, statistically, that move has a 78.4% chance of catastrophic failure. It's terrifying. Then there's Chloe. Chloe is the chaos agent. Her only goal on game night is to disrupt the natural order. She lives for psychological warfare. She'll accidentally spill a drink near the game board, ask about your recent breakup right before a crucial move, or start a philosophical debate on the nature of competition itself. All to throw you off. She doesn't need to win. She just wants to watch the world burn. Her crowning achievement was convincing Mark his lucky socks were statistically irrelevant, sending him into a week-long spiral. And finally, there's Dave. Dave is the snack master. His role is arguably the most critical. He is the quartermaster of our weekly war. Dave couldn't care less who wins or loses, as long as the dip-to-chip ratio is perfect. He builds elaborate food fortresses on the coffee table, pizza box towers, 7-layer dip moats, and platoons of chicken wings. To Dave, the real game is culinary, and his opponent is our collective appetite. He always wins. And then there's me. I'm the overly invested. My job in this group is to be the raw, unfiltered, and often embarrassing emotional core. For me, being a fan isn't a hobby. It's a huge part of my identity. I don't just watch sports, I absorb them. My mood for an entire week is decided by a group of athletes who don't know I exist. A win makes me feel like I can do anything. A loss feels like a personal failure. My friends think it's hilarious. I think it's exhausting. This particular night wasn't just any game night. It was the grand final of the SSLC, the end of a whole year of competition. And it all came down to this. The final game of the basketball championship. My team, the perpetual underdogs, had somehow clawed their way to the championship game. The entire SSLC season was tied. If my team won, I'd win Gary. If they lost, Mark would win, and I'd have to endure a year of him showing me a laminated chart on why my emotional investment is an inefficient strategy. The scene was set. We were on my worn-out gray couch that has the permanent imprint of our bodies. Dave had built Snackropolis, a towering achievement of carbs and cheese. Chloe was shuffling a deck of cards for no reason, just to make that annoying F-whipping sound. Mark was staring at the TV, silently calculating the win probability. And I was in my lucky spot on the far left cushion, wearing the same unwashed jersey I'd worn for every playoff game. The air was thick with tension, cheap air freshener, and the glorious smell of buffalo sauce. Everything was on the line. The game was pure agony. For 47 and a half minutes, it was a back-and-forth battle that felt less like a basketball game and more like slow, methodical torture. Every time my team pulled ahead, the other team would sink a soul-crushing three-pointer. Every time we got a defensive stop, we'd immediately turn the ball over. It was a perfect storm of hope and despair that can drive a fan to the brink. I was not handling it well. I was a mess of nervous energy. My palms were sweating. My heart was pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I was so far on the edge of my seat that my nose was almost touching the TV, as if I could somehow will the ball into the basket. This is the life of a true fan. Your body feels the stress of the game even when you're just sitting on a couch. My friends, of course, were making it worse. Mark, the strategist, was providing a running commentary that was the opposite of helpful. "You see," he'd say calmly after our star player missed a free throw, "his average from that spot is only 68.3% in the final quarter. The pressure is causing a standard deviation from the mean." Thanks, Mark. Super comforting. Chloe, the chaos agent, was doing what she does best, poking me. "Are you breathing?" she asked with fake concern. "You're making a weird wheezing sound. Need a paper bag? Or maybe we should talk about that awkward thing you said at brunch last week. Let's unpack that." She knew exactly how to turn my focus from the game to my own anxieties, a masterfully cruel tactic. Dave, the snack master, was oblivious. He was in his own high-stakes battle with a collapsing jalapeno popper tower. The game was just ambient noise to him. At one point, the only sound in the room was the loud crunch of Dave stress-eating a carrot stick, a noise that drilled right into my fraying nerves. My internal monologue was a frantic, screaming mess. "Okay, don't move. This spot on the couch is working. The jersey is working. Don't let Chloe make eye contact, she'll jinx it. Did I remember to put the rival team's logo in the freezer? Yes. Okay, good. It's trapped in a block of ice, as it should be. This is the irrational world of the obsessive fan, where you think your bizarre little rituals actually affect a professional sporting event. It's how we feel in control when we have none." With 2 minutes left, the score was tied. Every second felt like an hour. My team had the ball, a perfect pass inside. A shot goes up. It rolls around the rim and out. A collective groan filled the room. Well, from me. They get the rebound, race down the court. A quick shot. It misses. We get the rebound. We race back. This happened 3 more times. It was a dizzying ballet of near misses. Then, with just 3 seconds left, still tied, our coach called the final timeout. The screen cut to the coach frantically drawing on a whiteboard. In our apartment, there was a sudden heavy silence. This was it. The moment that would decide everything. The championship, the trophy, a year of bragging rights, all down to the next 3 seconds. Mark leaned forward, whispering, "This is it. The final play. They'll likely run a high screen and roll." Chloe just smirked, enjoying my psychological torment. Dave finally looked up. A string of mozzarella connecting his mouth to a slice of pizza, and said, "Whoa, it's getting intense." I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I could only stare at the screen. This is the pain and glory of being a fan. You sign up for this stress because the potential payoff, that feeling of victory, is just that good. Okay, quick pause. We're at the edge of my doom. If you have ever felt this level of irrational stress over something completely meaningless in the grand scheme of things, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. It's the support group for the irrationally passionate. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, impending glory. Or so I thought. The broadcast came back from the timeout. The screen flickered to life, and the image was electric. It was perfect. Too perfect. It started with a tight shot of sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. The sound was immaculate. The color grading was identical to the live game, a seamless transition designed to trick your brain. My brain, already flooded with adrenaline, didn't stand a chance. The camera panned up. The player wasn't one of ours, but in the heat of the moment, faces are just a blur. He was impossibly athletic, muscles defined under the bright lights. The crowd roared. He got the inbound pass with a grace that seemed almost superhuman. 2 defenders swarmed him. He faked left, spun right in a move that defied physics. The editing was poetry. The camera shifted to slow motion as he jumped for the shot, his body hanging in the air for what felt like an eternity. This wasn't just a basketball play. It was art. It was the kind of thing you see in commercials meant to give you goosebumps. My internal monologue was no longer frantic. It was triumphant. This is it. This is the play. He's going to take the shot. This is the moment I'll tell my kids about. The moment the underdogs finally won. I was slowly rising from my seat, fists clenched, every muscle tight. The ball left his fingertips in a perfect arc. The camera followed its journey to destiny. The shot was from just inside the half-court line, an impossible distance. But right then, nothing felt impossible. The game clock in the corner of the screen, which I now realize was CGI, ticked down. 2-1. The ball swished through the net, a perfect, clean shot. Nothing but net. The sound of the swish was amplified, a crisp thwack of victory. At the exact same moment, the buzzer sounded. They had done it. My team had won the championship at the buzzer with the most incredible shot in history. The impossible happened. A lifetime of sports disappointment was being erased in this single glorious moment. What happened next wasn't a choice. It was a primal, involuntary reaction, a release of all the tension, anxiety, and hope that had been building for my entire life as a fan. I screamed. This wasn't a woo or a yeah. This was a scream from the depths of my soul. A roar I imagine ancient warriors unleashed before battle. It was a mix of a charging wildebeest and a tea kettle at its final shriek, the sound of pure cathartic victory. My body followed. I leaped into the air, a full-throated, fist-pumping jump. In my mind, I was soaring. In reality, I got about 6 inches of air before landing awkwardly on the coffee table. I didn't care. I pumped my fists, yelling, "Yes, yes, we did it!" I might have even tried a knee slide on the carpet, which is much cooler in theory. And then, silence. A profound, deafening, and deeply confusing silence. My triumphant yells died, leaving a void. There was no cheering from my friends, no high fives, no one was jumping with me. Slowly, I opened my eyes, a huge, idiotic grin on my face, ready to celebrate. They weren't looking at the TV, they were all looking directly at me. Mark's face was a mix of confusion and amusement. Chloe was holding her phone up, and I have a sickening feeling she was recording, her expression one of pure malicious glee. Dave had paused mid-bite, pizza hovering before his open mouth, eyes wide. My smile faltered. My brain struggled to process the data. Why were they looking at me? Why weren't they celebrating? And then I heard it, the sound from the television. Not a roaring crowd. It was a single, amplified, impossibly crisp crunch. My head snapped back to the screen. The heroic slow-motion shot was gone. The camera had panned out. The basketball net I now saw with dawning horror wasn't a basketball net at all. It was part of the logo on a brightly colored bag of potato chips. The impossibly handsome player was now leaning against a sports car, biting into a chip with a smug look on his face. He winked, and then the slogan appeared. Zesty Ranch Crunchers, the perfect game-time snack. The turn was complete. My moment of ultimate glory, the greatest comeback in history, the buzzer-beating shot heard round the world, was a commercial. A perfectly executed, emotionally manipulative ad for potato chips. The first sound to break the silence was a snort from Mark. He tried to stifle it, but it was no use. It was the crack in the dam. A giggle erupted into a full-blown convulsive laugh. He bent over, clutching his stomach, tears streaming down his face. "The physics!" he gasped. "The arc was all wrong. I knew it." That's all it took. Chloe lost it. She wasn't just laughing, she was howling, collapsing back into the couch cushions in pure hysterics. It was the sound of her chaos agent soul achieving nirvana. But the final nail in my coffin of humiliation came from Dave. He finished his bite of pizza, looked at the screen, looked at the bowl of chips on the table, and then looked at me. He held up a single zesty ranch cruncher and said, with a completely straight face, "Well, they're not wrong. They are a pretty perfect game-time snack." The room exploded. The combined laughter was a tidal wave of mockery that washed over me. My face, moments before a mask of joy, was now burning with the heat of 1,000 suns. I slowly collapsed back onto the couch. I tried to salvage a shred of dignity. "Ha," I said, my voice cracking. "Totally. I knew it was a commercial. Just wanted to see if you guys were paying attention. You all passed. Good job." Nobody bought it. The laughter only got louder. Mark was now literally rolling on the floor. And then, to add the ultimate insult to injury, the real game came back on. The players were still in their huddle. The clock still showed 3 seconds. Nothing had happened. My entire emotional journey had taken place during a timeout. The real final play was, of course, a complete disaster. A boring, sloppy mess. An inbound pass was tipped and the ball rolled harmlessly out of bounds. No slow motion, no heroic shot. Just the pathetic fizzle of defeat. My team lost the championship. I lost Gary. But nobody was talking about the game. The actual loss was completely overshadowed by my far more personal loss of dignity. As the rival team celebrated on screen, my friends were still wiping away tears of laughter. My team lost the game, but I had lost so much more. That night, now known as the Zesty Ranch incident, changed everything. My failure has become the stuff of legend. It's the new gold standard for embarrassment. The aftermath was relentless. For the next week, my phone was a minefield. Random texts from Chloe with just a picture of a Zesty Ranch Crunchers bag. Mark created and sent me a detailed infographic. Analysis of a false positive emotional response. Dave, in a move of either pure friendship or pure evil, bought me a case of them, so you'll never run out of things to cheer for. Game nights are different now. Gary, the beautiful tacky trophy, sits on Mark's mantle, a constant reminder of my failure. But the real punishment comes during commercial breaks. Anytime an ad comes on that even vaguely resembles sports, the room goes silent and all three of them just turn and stare at me, eyebrows raised, waiting. It's their new favorite game. The commercial itself became my ghost. I'd see it everywhere and feel a phantom twinge of that same humiliation. I'd accidentally tied my identity not to a team, but to a crunchy, ranch-flavored snack. But over time, the sting faded, replaced by a strange, reluctant pride. The story was just too good. It's my go-to anecdote at parties. It perfectly sums up who I am, a person who feels things, maybe a little too strongly, a little too loudly, and sometimes for the wrong reasons. It's a story about the fear of public embarrassment, but it's also proof that surviving it makes for a much better story later. I didn't just fail, I failed epically. In a way, there's glory in that. I may not be a champion of the Suburban Sofa League, but I am the undisputed world champion of cheering for a commercial. To this day, every time that commercial comes on, my friends don't see a bag of chips. They see my moment of glory. And honestly, maybe it was. Maybe that was the greatest cheer of all time, just for the wrong team. I'm no longer just a fan. I'm an unwitting, unpaid, but passionate brand ambassador for Zesty Ranch Crunchers. If you have ever poured your entire heart and soul into something only to realize you were aiming at the wrong target, hit that like button to show some solidarity. And subscribe for more stories of misplaced enthusiasm. And please, for the love of all that is holy, drop a comment with your most embarrassing game night or sports watching story. I really need to know I'm not alone in this.